Hi, I'm Kevin,
And I'm Amanda.
and we are serving up
All that jam.
All That Jam, Quick Hit. Zak Najor on Greyboy Allstars.
I'm assuming that you all did not choose to be kind of connected to the jam band scene in the way that it kind of happened.
It really came through Eric Newsom, I think. He saw us struggling. I mean, in playing in front of more of a what kind of a market were we trying to be in front of at the time? I'd say it was more like stuff that was happening in the Bay Area. Like we're talking before the jam band scene, aligning with like DJs and almost like house, a rave kind of environment. And we were definitely something that was more of a novelty put to the side. It's like, oh yeah, we got some live music here and stuff. There probably wouldn't have been as much of a history for us if we didn't go to a crowd that was as appreciative as the jam band scene. So, like for instance, when I remember the first 1 or 2 years, at least, I think we did a full 2 years without any jam band activity. And it was a tough sell every night. I mean, it was a tough sell. I just remember maybe there being more of an urban crowd at times and these kinds of things. Probably preferred DJ music more.
Didn't they call it soul jazz? Wasn't that the label someone slapped on you guys?
Well, soul jazz, I think, would be something that is a known style that's dated back to the 60s and 70s, probably. And then acid jazz apparently was a term that was developed in England because they were playing just regular jazz, and that would include soul jazz in raves. And I guess they wanted to get them to go to a certain room, so they called it acid jazz instead. And it was really just rare groove stuff. Um, but after that first 2 years, having to work that hard to win people over, you had your markets. Like if you played in San Francisco, it was awesome. I mean, it was packed. You felt like you were really doing something. But some of the other markets New York would have been really a little tougher, because of like the level of, history of jazz and stuff over there. But there were groups doing things along that in that realm. But when we began to start playing for the jam band scene, just to really answer how we felt about it, it's like you were appreciated all of a sudden. Like you could, we were the kind of band where we would play a show and listen to the whole show after the gig on a tape and face each other. You know what I mean? And just kind of like, and just the critique and everything was just like strong all the time. I think when we started playing with the jam band scene, it's like you feel like you didn't even have to play at your best. You could just be what you were and people would appreciate it. That was very odd to us, even when we weren't grooving, people were dancing. I mean, I feel like before that time, we had to be like razor sharp, to get anybody to like us and like dance a little bit. And of course, back then, all you did was bob your head. That was like, that was the way people danced, back then. That's all they did. So, yeah. So like to feel that appreciated, I mean, gosh, you have to value that and just be like, even though I've never like worn a tie-dye shirt or being and really, I don't even know a song by the Grateful Dead except for Touch of Grey because it was on MTV. I don't know how that missed me, but and I see the Dead as definitely very influential in the jam band scene. They would be like the patriarchs, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So like, I mean, even though we didn't feel like maybe we had the same aesthetic, if there is one, I mean, there probably really isn't one. It's just music, right? But, I mean, to feel appreciated and like financially to be able to be supported on tours and stuff, you can't show contempt for something like that. That would be ridiculous. You know, like we wouldn't have made it if we didn't have that opportunity. So, you know, but you know, like if anybody says anything negative about it, I think personally, I wanted to get this across that I think history will show us. Like, I think when we look back, I think things like the jam band scene and the bands, the jam band, will be the ones that people will remember and look to. It's kind of like, even though it may be considered at times, you know, not the highest grade of jazz or the highest grade of this, I don't think that's going to matter. I think when you look back through the lens of history, the people who participated in it are going to be many of the musicians and music that we remember. Like, all the other people were too classy or something, or too good, or maybe they fancied themselves. I know for a fact if we didn't take that trajectory, you wouldn't have heard of us. Because how would we? I mean, people didn't appreciate what we were trying to do, even to this day, I think.
You would have been a footnote, because I'm sure all of you would have gone on to do other things. It would have been a footnote in everyone's career.
It would have been a footnote in everyone's career. And I think I can even tell you some groups that didn't go that way, who were some of our biggest rivals. They're unknown.
Like who? What are some names?
Unknown. Well, I can't say that. I wouldn't want, because somebody might hear it. But you don't know who they are. How's that? Even if I told you, you wouldn't know who they were. But all I know, the reason why I say that is because I remember the pressure that I felt, like, oh, we got to play with them. Or, you know, it's funny. Galactic was along with us at the beginning before they started playing a lot in the jam band scene as well. And they remember those days where all you could do is go to San Francisco and maybe play in New Orleans and these kinds of things. But I think when they started to cultivate like more of their audience in, you know, they see it too. You know, you probably talk to Stanton about that. He probably know a whole bunch about that. You know what I mean?
I used to have a 2 CD set called The Best of Cooking. And it had you guys on it. It had the rhythm section, Slide 5, a bunch of bands, and Galactic was on there. What made me think of it, that had Black Eyed Pea on it.
Was Galactic in that?
Yeah, Galactic, Black Eyed Pea was on there. Yeah, New Legends.
Right. You know, well, since you mentioned Slide 5, great. My friend Guy Gershoni, I was just with him yesterday. He lives near me, the drummer, the original drummer. Man, I really envied him. He was really good. And they never got into the jam band scene, basically. They you know, they didn't go that way. They stayed. I think they moved to LA at one point and really tried to continue to do it that way. And I think they would have been, you know, I don't say this to put them down at all. I think had they gone that way, they would have been somebody, because they made us nervous, I think, you know, like how good they were. I think bands are super competitive, you know what I mean? Like sometimes, like we used to love talking bad about everybody, you know what I mean? It's just to kind of, you know, the band mentality, like, you know.
Right. It's one of the 10 commandments of rock and roll.
Yeah.
The band above everything, you know?
Right. So since you mentioned Slide 5, they were the ones I was going to mention, but yeah, I just remember they just sort of didn't go that way, you know what I mean? And I don't know why. Maybe it was because they didn't have the connections. I can't assume. You know, it just, you know, I mean, so that's that.
If you are enjoying All That Jam, please like and subscribe to our social media channels at All That Jam Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, or visit our website, allthatjampod.com. Make sure to sign up for our email list and tune in every week for new episodes.
Also, look for full interviews on our YouTube channel. And remember, stay beautiful, but don't stay underground too long.